But thanks to Stan Sport FC, the great man, Maxi Rushden. Now, Max, as he joins the run home with Joel and Fletch, do you want to talk about Josh Schuster? Do you want to talk about Jason Demetrio? What would you like to talk about, Maxi?
Well, I mean, it's a tough question, isn't it? I mean, of all the things. I mean, who was the first one?
Josh Schuster. Schuster.
Josh Schuster. I mean, I just come in because it just seems more sensible.
Oh, look at this. Look at this, will you? He's come in. So he's on the phone at the moment, our man Max, but he's in the studio. This is quite a weird situation.
This is weird, like Inception. I've got echoing in my ears.
Yes. Okay.
How does this work, Yubbo?
Here we go. So Maxi, who had the earbuds in a matter of seconds ago and was on the line to us.
Yeah.
Wow, Tourist, did you know he was doing this?
I had no idea. He's
Wow.
done me there.
It's a real surprise. I mean, I was just passing. I was actually just trying to get a ready meal from Coles. It's sort of the high life that I live. I was thinking a sort of a fettuccine carbonara, but they're a bit creamy, aren't they, when you get them in the microwave pack? But I'm quite busy. But then I thought, well, I'm passing. And the signal's never that great on WhatsApp. What's happened to
Josh Schuster?
Yeah, he's changed, doesn't he? Suddenly he went into he suddenly just went into like one of those sort of laboratories and said, I'd like to be the zenith of man, please.
Oh, you're talking about our man, Missile.
Yeah.
The Missile, who's going to be the face of the enhanced games.
Right. I thought something had happened to Brian.
No, Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott has got the doco coming out. So there you go. Yes, he's looking good, the boy, isn't he? Hey?
Can I ask a question, Max?
Please.
I'm a massive Liverpool fan.
Congratulations.
But I don't get to see enough of the EPL as I once did. Just time, life, etc. Give me a
Optus isn't what it was either, and really, if it was on Stan, it would probably be better. Anyway, carry on.
Correct. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That I wasn't going to say it because I don't know who sponsors the show or anything like
that's
that.
fine.
But
It's probably Hyundai.
Yeah.
They'll fit in anything except a man of your size, but that is different. Hyundai, build a bigger Hyundai. That's
right.
Sorry, what was your question?
What's the lay of the land as a Liverpool fan? So we've been leading most of the season. Now we're sitting second behind Arsenal, game in hand. How does this play out?
Oh, that's a great question. They dropped points in there at the weekend against Manchester United. It was sort of they've got two games, right, which sort of the cliche, the form goes out the window. Liverpool, Man United is still the biggest game in English football, even if Manchester United are garbage at the moment. They also play Everton. Everton aren't great, but it is the Merseyside derby. But then you'd probably think they win all the rest of their games. They've still got to play Tottenham, so do Man City, so do Arsenal. It's impossible to call. What's great is you've got three teams basically neck and neck for the title, and that hasn't happened for quite a long time, I don't think. And they're all incredibly good. They've all got a lot of things going for them. It's impossible to call, actually, who's going to win it. And what you want to have is three televisions at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You just have to watch all the games and it go, and as it stands, table. Exactly, that's what we're looking for.
Not that again. No, not that again.
Yeah.
Not that again.
That is riveting, that yarn, isn't it?
It's Hollywood.
Yep.
You couldn't script it.
No.
I hope that doesn't happen again. But the bookies keep backing Man City. Man City's been short with the bookies all year.
But so the thing is, they've got the experience, right? They've got the manager in Pep Guardiola. They've got the players. They've been there. They've done it. They've won the treble last season. I don't know how many they won the league. 4 out of 5 years, 5 out of 6 years. I mean, I would love it to be somebody else because you just want variety, don't you?
Yep.
And look, City they're not the same side they were. You sort of feel they have that vulnerability, but at the same time, I think they're unbeaten in 26 games now. Okay, they drew with Real Madrid in the Champions League. It was a brilliant game actually on Wednesday morning here. But the fascinating thing is it's so hard to call. What Jurgen Klopp has done this season is actually amazing at Liverpool because they didn't have a brilliant season last year. He's totally transformed their midfield. Szoboszlai has come in and has been brilliant. Endo was sort of like their fourth choice holding midfielder, but he's come in and been really solid. They've got great players going forward. Mo Salah hasn't necessarily hit the heights that he normally does in the last few weeks. Darwin Núñez is a sort of chaos player, but it's super exciting to watch. Same for Luis Diaz, actually very similar. I couldn't call it. Like you sort of feel City because they just always win it in the end, you know, like sort of the evil big boss. But it would be an amazing and there are loads of stories, right? It'd be amazing for Pep to win the league again, back to back or whatever leagues. It'd be amazing for Klopp, right? Because he's leaving.
He's on the way out.
And what a story that would be. It'd be amazing for Arsenal. I think it's 20 years since they last won. Is it 20 years since they last won the Premier League, or 20 years since the Invincible season? So like, there's a storyline behind any of them. And what Liverpool fans want is you want Manchester City to get past Real Madrid. You want Arsenal to get past Bayern Munich, because then you've got a semi-final in the Champions League of Arsenal versus Manchester City. So that takes time, energy, 2 games, and real high-stakes games. That would be great for Liverpool. We're doing Liverpool tomorrow morning, actually, against Atalanta in the Europa League, which is a less stressful competition. But you still got to play the games,
Yeah.
right? So incredibly tight.
Can I ask you this, Max?
You
with
can,
with
yes.
the draw, because we're used to grand finals out here. Even in our soccer, the
Yeah.
A-League, we have grand finals.
Yeah.
In lieu of that, do they build the draw so, like for example, I would if I was building a draw
For the Champions League or the Premier League?
for the Premier League.
Right, okay.
I would have the top 2 teams from the year prior playing in the last game. So in
It's
the
fixture
event,
computer.
yeah,
No one knows how it
but
works.
don't you think they should be doing that? Because then you could have almost a quasi grand final.
Right.
With if you stack the last round with
Yeah.
based on where teams finish,
Yeah.
you'd have more chances where you could have a
I suppose-
grand final.
Yeah, I suppose the thing is about the history of English football is we care about the integrity of the league as opposed to all Australian sports, which are just a gimmick, right? And so they just say, it doesn't matter if you can finish 8th, but you can still win the whole thing. Who cares, right? It doesn't really matter what you do in the whole. It doesn't really matter what happens in the whole
No,
season.
that's right.
So no, I take your point, and I think some people would like that, but. History dictates how these sports are, right?
Yeah.
So if you came in and said, "Do you know what I want? I want the top 4 to have some semi-finals or final," like you would have been a bit like when this idea of the European Super League came up
Yes.
a couple of years ago, and suddenly the fans went, "Hang on, so you can't get relegated from that?" And lots of things were happening at the same time. Right? It was just after COVID and whatever, but people took to the streets to
Yes.
say, "Whoa,
No.
we don't like change," and sports fans do not like change of any sort.
No.
Right? We know that. If you suggest changing anything in any sport,
Yep.
everybody
Leave
goes
the game
wild.
alone.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's the same with football. So. Look, if you began it now, maybe there would be a grand final. This is what cup competitions are for. Knockouts, like the Champions League, are for that, and the league is leave the league alone. Stop
Yeah.
coming up with ideas.
I know. I don't want it semi-finals. I just want to have a bit of a quasi one.
Right.
Yes.
You can't have a quasi one. You can't have a made-up one.
No.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And leave it alone.
Okay. Well, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
He almost left alone with some points, but
Yeah.
they snuck out of that Arsenal.
It was a really good game, actually. And Arsenal have been so brilliant in the Premier League and defensively amazing. And you just wonder, and there are these questions about Arsenal because they were doing so well in the league last year and then they slipped a little bit. Do they have the mentality? I think they're playing brilliantly, but they didn't play brilliantly in this game. Look, you can have an off game sometimes, and their centre-back partnership of Gabriel and Saliba are the best in the Premier League at the moment, but they didn't look great against Bayern Munich. Leroy Sané was brilliant. I think when Arsenal took the lead, we all thought, okay, this will be a really straightforward win for Arsenal, and Bayern Munich have had a bad season by their standards. They're not going to win the Bundesliga this year, which is a sort of extraordinary. And poor old Harry Kane, who's never won a trophy.
Chasing a trophy.
He's never won a trophy. He goes to Bayern Munich. They've won it 10, 11 years in a row. They're not going to win it. So Bayern equalised, and then they got a penalty. And Harry Kane obviously has played for Spurs a lot at the Emirates. Tottenham and Arsenal do not like each other. He scored more goals against Arsenal, I think, anyone else. He scored more penalties at the Emirates than anyone who isn't an Arsenal player, I think. And that was maybe his 5th penalty he's ever scored against Arsenal. And I just, as an England fan, I just don't use these up now, Harry.
No.
Mate, save these for the
know,
Euros, for
I
goodness
know.
sake. I don't care if you missed this one. Just don't miss against Spain
This
in
is
the
the
quarterfinals.
Euros, right?
This is the
your-
Euros coming
this
up
is
in the
yours.
summer.
Yeah,
Wow.
this
Is it ours? It's never ours. History tells us.
My barber's British, and
Is he?
he's against all odds. He's convinced that they're going to win this Euros.
Okay.
He said,
This happens to
he
every
said, "I'm
England fan.
positive.
It's
I'm
coming
positive."
home. It's coming home.
What happens is, right, it happens to all of us, right, even the sensible ones. You sit there like, I'm now going, I don't think we're going to win it. We could win it. We've got some great players. We've got Foden, Bellingham, Kane, Sackett. Going forward, absolutely brilliant. And at some point, but I'm realistic enough to know history tells me that England will not win. They don't win
That's
these
what I
things.
think, yeah.
However, at some point with every Englishman, just at some point before, as the tournament is about to start, you just wake up one morning and then you are convinced.
Yeah, brainwashed.
Everyone, you're totally convinced.
Yeah, right.
Until the moment you're knocked out on penalties and then you're bereft.
Yeah.
And then you remember, and for about 18 months you think, okay, we're not going to win the next one. We won't win the World Cup in 2026. And then it happens again.
You
And
can
that is
fall
just
into
it. You just fall into this trap. There's nothing we can do.
Wow.
Just on this Champions League, I'm looking at the draw.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a strong side and a weak side of the draw? Is
Yeah.
the fact that Real Madrid and Man City are on the one side mean that the other side's slightly weaker?
Yeah. So it happened last year as well, where you had City and Real Madrid on one side of the draw. I forget who's in the other semi-final. You had like the 3 Italian teams on the other side, and Inter eventually got to the final and actually pushed City. So this time you've got Man City, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Bayern Munich on one side of the draw, and you'd say of those, Man City, Arsenal, Real Madrid are probably the 3 best sides left in it. And then you have PSG, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and Borussia Dortmund, of which Dortmund are definitely the weakest, although they're still in that tie because they got a late goal at Atleti. But Barcelona played brilliantly against PSG this morning, and the point is, the draw is the draw. And, you just have to beat, it's a cliche, you have to beat who you're up against. But, yeah, there's definitely a strong side and a weak side. But that doesn't mean that whoever's on the strong side will win the final.
You don't want me to have a word about that draw as well?
If you could, have a word with UEFA saying, what are you doing here? I mean, I loved it. Like the FA Cup is the perfect cup competition where you get a big hat, you draw the names out. And if Real Madrid are playing Liverpool in the first round, so be it. That's not quite how...
And there's always a fairy tale who's dodged a few bullets on the way and they get real deep, isn't there? Fantastic stuff. Just explain the scoring. For those who don't follow
football, if you kick the round thing, right, okay. And I carry on.
No, so the draw this morning, of course, but it was at home for Arsenal. Yeah. That's the first leg. They'll have a second leg. So what does that mean points-wise? So
it doesn't mean anything about points. It's all about aggregate goals. So it's 2-2, so it's basically 0-0.
Oh, is that
right? So there used to be away goals until 2 or 3 years ago where...
So 3-3 would mean still a draw.
So in the olden times, right, Arsenal draw 2-2 with Bayern Munich.
Yes.
And I probably don't explain this because it doesn't exist anymore. But Arsenal draw 2-2.
Yep.
That would mean if Bayern Munich and Arsenal drew 0-0 in Germany, Bayern would go through because they'd scored 2 goals away from home.
Yeah. Correct.
Now, that away goals rule doesn't count. Some people think it's brilliant, some don't. I think it probably is better for the entertainment.
Because they'd lock down, would they?
Yeah. They might lock down. They might say, or one goal just changes everything, right? And suddenly it's 2-2 and Arsenal score, and then Bayern need 2 to win. But now it's basically 0-0. That game is set at 0-0, same as Man City, Real Madrid, set at 0-0, basically.
Good they got that email I sent a few years ago.
Yeah, really good. Well done. You're changing things slowly.
Slowly, bit by bit. What else is happening in the round game?
Oh, lots of people are playing each other. They're kicking it to each other and away from each other. Cambridge United, that's what we really care about. One more win, probably against Charlton at the weekend, would keep us in League One. I know that's what people care about. The top of the Championship is fascinating with Ipswich, Leeds and Leicester all failing to win this week. So getting into the Premier League is
how many go
a
up?
Big old deal. 3. Top, 2 automatically,
Joel,
and then 1 in the playoffs. Come on,
how many go up? Can we get 2 updates?
Yes, please.
These are for lovers of content. Sunderland and Wrexham.
Yeah.
Where are those 2 teams?
Sunderland are...
You know what? Sorry, Max. You know why he's done this? Because
he watches documentaries.
No, because Rob McElhenney.
Rob McElhenney, yeah.
Who's behind
Wrexham.
Wrexham. He's behind the documentary which he's starring in.
Oh, what's your documentary?
It's the Enhanced Games, Olympic Games that they're doing, or the Enhanced Games.
Is that why you're so tall? Was he 5'8" before this started?
Well, similar makeup to Joel there.
Wow.
No, I've watched both Wrexham and Sunderland. Sunderland was a car crash. Wrexham's a feel-good story.
Yes.
For 2 completely different reasons.
The car crashes are much better in documentary. Football, sport failures are much better than sport successes. So Wrexham are... Forgive me, I can't remember whether they're in League 2, but they're near the top.
Up the top.
Yeah. They're sort of not guaranteed automatic promotion. They could get it.
So do they have a playoff series?
Yeah, so top 3 go up, and then there's a playoff
brutal.
in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th going to playoffs. Sunderland are we're sort of flirting with the playoffs in the Championship. They drew with Leeds last night or the night before, but they're not. They'd just be mid-table this year in the Championship.
Wrexham 4 points off the top. Wrexham.
All right.
There's another doco.
Man City one
Man
came
City,
out.
yeah.
That'd be quite boring. Unless it's on Stan, and then it'll
You
be
don't
great.
watch these docos, do you?
I watch a lot of football. If I'm watching
Yeah.
TV, I'm watching Death in Paradise.
Yeah.
A good, happy murder.
I love that.
That's what I want. A sunny, happy murder.
If you want
Someone's
a
been
failure-
murdered, happy music. They'll solve it. They'll go. Everyone just says, "Yeah, I hated Brian, but you don't think I'm capable of murder?" And then they walk off, and then someone's done it, and we have a cup of tea.
Correct. Golf, by the way. You into your golf at all?
Yeah.
The Masters?
Yeah. I'm more PGA Tour man than a live man, as you can imagine.
Yes.
I do love the majors. I love the Ryder Cup so much. The majors, just if I'm awake, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
If not, it can pass me by. But, I reckon Fuzzy Zeller, he'd be Fuzzy Zeller, maybe Craig Stadler. If Davis Love III can get in a few of those, or Ian Woosnam, they're my tips.
Oh, Ian Woosnam.
I think so.
I think he's a massive chance, Ian Woosnam. Good on you, Max. If
Pleasure.
you want a failure story to watch, it's called Losers.
It's like I was saying, if you want a failure story to watch, Max Rushden's Life and Times.
Stan Sport FC too. Thank you very much.
Hey, pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Good luck with the documentary.
Max, and great to have half the conversation on the phone and the other half
I thought that would
here
be
in
fun.
person.
Right, I'll
Thank
go
you,
and get
Max.
my ready meal.
The run home with Joel and Fletch.